In Christian circles, we tend to say things about feelings that can keep us from experiencing our feelings in a healthy way. So some of the things that we hear is that anger is a sin, fear is a liar, um, our feelings, we are not to be controlled by our emotions. Um, our feelings are lying to us, our emotions are lying to us. Some kind of variation on all of that. And then there's even an underlying, I don't know what I would want to call this, but kind of an underlying process of how we shove aside feelings without necessarily knowing that we're doing it or saying that that's what we believe. We could say that we value emotions to some extent, but act in a different way. Why? Because experiencing those emotions, expressing them in especially in the safety of other people, or maybe you don't have safe other people to express emotions with, it can feel scary, which guess what? There's an emotion, there's a feeling. Um, and we can shove aside anything that seems to negate our faith journey because somehow we're not um, faithful enough because we have to arrive at some faith filled level. Even if we say otherwise, I hear a lot of times um, Christian people saying that they know they don't have to achieve faith in order to be accepted by God. But like me, they live something different. I lived and still struggle with trying to prove that I can get it right, that I can live right enough, that I can get faith enough right. One of the reasons that's been so challenging is because I haven't had really good experiences to counter some of the bad experiences about what it's like to be able to express emotions that are messy and have other people love me and accept me as an extension of God's love and acceptance of me. So, a little bit of my passion on that topic there about feelings in general and emotions in general. And that kind of underscores the topic for today, which is phrases that we use and it can sound like I feel or I feel like, or it has to do with the premise of feeling versus feeling like. So let me explain. One of the suppositions, is that the right word? Suppositions? I don't know, I should probably look that up that seem to underscore what I hear from other people when they say that fear is a liar or our feelings are lied to us and really are trying to get us to make faith happen, to make ourselves strong enough in faith, rather than dealing with the emotions that are part of the faith journey. So, one of them that underlies that is that the concept around feelings. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. I watched somebody on Twitter say something about feelings lying to us. And I responded um, to that. And one of the examples that this person gave me, they said as a pastor, they'd had, excuse me, a lot of men who would say, I feel like leaving my wife. And they would caution against that. They would give them some counsel, that type of thing. So in his premise, I feel like leaving my wife, then it makes sense that yeah, you don't want to listen to that message that you're getting from I feel like. Just like we don't want to be listening to messages that say I feel like eating a brownie. I feel like running to Krispy Kreme because they have a donut that I really like. I feel like doing something hurtful to someone because you're so filled with anger. I feel like, and other examples aren't just the actions. So notice what's happening after there. I feel like doing something. Another way that this phrase comes up is as an observation or as an explanation of something. So you might hear someone say, or you might have said, I don't know, I've done the same thing. I feel like when you do this, then it's just causing problems over here. Like you're an outside observer and you're kind of talking about the details. You're giving descriptive information, you're giving an explanation. So it could be justification, which is what is kind of tied to that first process. And I feel like, but then there's also, I feel like this is what's happening and it's descriptive. Well, none of those are feelings. So when we say that our feelings are lying to us, we've got to understand what is really at the heart of that. Feelings don't lie to us. There are unhealthy beliefs and lies that get tied to what we feel and how we feel, but ignoring them is not the answer. Instead, there are times when you're in a place that's really busy, you're at work or something like that, and you're starting to feel sadness or anger or fear that's kind of overwhelming you. And there's some things that you need to do to help regulate your body, to help calm things down so that you're able to think, because heightened, really strong emotions can also take over our thinking process. And those are some practical things that we need to do with dealing with emotions. In our environment or when they become overwhelming. But at the end of the day, completely ignoring them only shoves them aside and puts them into kind of like a hidden space within us that maybe we don't know that they're there, but it doesn't mean that it's not festering and causing all kinds of problems, right? So, for the example of the pastor the guy said, I feel like leaving my wife. What if we asked and tried to get a little more clarification on the feeling? I feel good. I feel excited. I feel nervous. I feel ashamed. And then kind of start to dig a little bit deeper. So, feelings aren't the same thing as primary emotions. Primary emotions like sadness, anger, grief, disgust, happiness. But feeling words can help describe the sensation of the emotion that we're experiencing. So I feel like is kind of an outside explanation and description of actions and patterns and behavior, or not patterns, but outside descriptions of behavior or actions, maybe even desires, things that we want, those types of things. But a feeling has more to do with describing the state of our soul. What's happening on the inside? What do we sense on the inside of us? And that gives us important information. That is not lying to us. That is what is happening inside of us. Now, when it gets tied to something unhealthy, so for example, maybe in this guy's case, I feel could be a lot of different things, right? Maybe he feels trapped. Maybe he feels overwhelmed. Maybe he feels fear. Maybe he feels ashamed. Maybe he feels out of control and he's trying to get into control. So, those are some descriptive factors about what's going on inside of him. It's not external about behavior and actions. Um, and then digging into that a little bit deeper, there's going to be a core emotion, which may be fear, because if someone um, wants to leave because they're having a hard time with commitment, they're struggling with attachment, they can't um, be vulnerable and sharing their feelings with another person, then the quick response to run away and just try to find something new that has a root in fear and some other experiences in someone's life. So that's a pretty hefty example, pretty heavy example. Let's give one for, let's see, I didn't really write one down, but actually I did. This is kind of going into a little bit more of the difference between I feel and I feel like, how it's kind of engaging senses in a different way. If we are going outside, especially in this colder weather, and you're going down a stairs that they still have these, right? Stairs with a stair rail. So it's metal, cold metal, right? If it's outside and it's not, the sun's not, either it's really hot or it's cold. Today I'm thinking cold because I'm enjoying the cold. You can feel a cold rail. That's something that's a gift of the touch. Um, then you can feel like sliding down that cold rail or sitting on that cold rail or pulling that cold rail out because you're really angry. None of those are the feelings. You can feel coldness on your skin. That's a sensation on your skin. Inside of you, maybe you feel exhilarated, mischievous, adventurous, happy because you want to sit on a cold rail, slide down. It's fun to slide down rails if you don't get hurt, right? Um, So I hope that kind of helps to understand a little bit of the difference between I feel versus I feel like. I try to share several examples of this even in the training for Unleash Heart and Soul care sheets, because there's a section in there that really focuses on feelings. And time again, in just asking the question, what do you feel right now? A lot of times, our tendency is to go into our brain, to go to the left side of logic and say, I feel like I have this tendency. So, like, you might even have an outside observation of your thought process or what's happening with you, but it's not actually coming from inside. It's not actually the emotion that's happening inside. So, I totally lost my train of thought. Um, and we're going to go with that because that's what happens when you do things like this, which without a script. All right. So, I feel versus I feel like. Um, okay, I was talking about how we have this tendency to jump into the intellectualization is a term that's used, especially as I'm studying the counseling stuff right now. And that is not connecting to the emotions that are inside of us. And when we don't connect to those, it's we can't connect to other people because we do are designed to connect at a emotion to emotion level, a heart to heart level, spirit to spirit level with other people, and we're also designed to connect that way with God. When we stay in our head, when we stay in our brain, we're not really knowing God. We're knowing things about God. We might know things about another person, but we don't know them. And if we're not able to know others, that's a pretty good sign that we're probably not feeling known ourselves. And there's this give and take that needs to happen of being able to share vulnerably with someone who can receive it, and then also let them give you their vulnerability and you receive it. And that is going to require being able to identify the feelings. If you can get to the core emotions, that's great. But I don't do that in the Unleash sheets. I focus on feeling words. I call it a soul word vocabulary. And there's 2 pages of over, I think it's over 600 words to help describe the feeling that's happening inside. There can be numerous different feelings that are happening at the same time. We can feel excited about something, maybe because it's what we want, and there could be a feeling of shame a little bit because there's a part of us that knows that it's not good for us, or it's really not the right thing to do. And hopefully we have some level of conscious uh, okay, words and me today are not getting along very well, but hopefully we have something that is helping us to recognize that, yeah, that's not good at all. But all those feelings can kind of mishmatch together. For example, um, I allowed a beta team to use the Unleash sheets with some 13 to 14-year olds. And some of the feedback that they got is they were really surprised that they had all these emotions in there. And they run the gamut of all kinds of things. They didn't know that all these things were happening inside of them. But as they're able to bring that to the surface, as I'm able to bring that to the surface when I use Unleash sheets, I'm able to be a little bit more in tune and connection with what's happening with me so that I can also experience God in those places. If I don't have any connection to what's going on inside of me, how am I going to experience God there? If I have to always say, no, I don't have any fear. I'm good. My faith is strong. My faith is good. My faith is better than ever before. There may be some truth to that because our faith hopefully is growing with God. But if it's coming from this perspective of we don't need anything, we don't have any weakness, and these feelings are making us feel weak, then God can't meet us in those places. He can't bring healing. He can't bring out some of the things that are causing extra sickness inside physiologically in our bodies, and also emotionally and relationally in areas that we just don't even know. It's really upon us to take some time to ask ourselves, what am I feeling right now? Even when you are stuck or you realize in the middle of the day, oh my gosh, I'm constantly distracted, take a minute and notice. Ask yourself the question, what am I feeling? I am feeling out of sorts. I am feeling anxious. I'm feeling just I like to use the word discombobulated. And again, those aren't specifically core emotions, but a description of what's happening inside of you so that you can either identify it and work with it. And if it's something that keeps coming up, bring it before God. You can talk to a safe friend about it. You can talk in prayer with God. Write it out. That's a completely different way to process with God in a journal, or using the Unleash sheets, or a counselor or a coach. I offer emotional health coaching, which helps people process whatever it is they're kind of God's bringing to the surface for them, and working through it with the Unleash sheets, and kind of give some guidance and facilitation in that process. There's a lot of different ways that we can attend to the feelings that we're feeling. My point today is I feel versus I feel like. They are very different things. So if the feeling isn't lying to us, it's just a reflection of something that's going on inside of us. I feel like the observations can have a lot of filters with our unhealthy beliefs, our unhealthy desires, all those types of things that can put our just like, I feel like this is what I should be doing. This is what you should be doing. Like, that's actually a belief coming through your mouth, that you're expressing something that um, should happen, has to happen, the way that you think it is happening. Like I said before, description. So I hope this is helpful, because describing our feelings puts a framework to the underlying emotion. It gives us something to work with, and it gives us a place to start with in being vulnerable, first with ourselves and with God, and then hopefully with safe people who can also meet us in that emotion without trying to correct it or get us back into our heads and tell us what we need to do with it, because now they're trying to make sure that we do what they think we should do. So I hope that you're able to find safe people for that. Thank you for listening today. And if you have any questions on the Unleash sheets, please go ahead and message me, and look forward to talking to you next time.